because Stephanie Mencimer of Mother Jones joins us.
That's right.
We mentioned her piece yesterday while she was slamming her finger in a car door and could not join us. Stephanie, good morning. We're glad you're feeling better.
Thank you.
I feel so bad. You can't hitchhike anymore. I'm just happy healing. Okay.
Thanks.
So we were talking about you, and I thought, what a great time to have you on, because you saw all these MAGA fans outside Mar-a-Lago yesterday, right? Wearing all their MAGA wear. And we were saying, none of these Republicans, none of these people know what they've found at Mar-a-Lago, don't know what the FBI has on Trump, don't know who's talking, who's cooperating. But it's so beyond a cult, they don't care, right?
Yeah, I don't think they care.
Yeah. Your piece was Trump merchandise, rabid fans, disgraced ex-officials inside the right-wing conference circuit. How did extremists take over the GOP? That's the questions everybody's answering. What was your answer? Did you have a short answer to that? How this happened?
Short answer. I don't know. I think it actually started with the Tea Party movement, which is when I first started going to these conferences. Right. I've sort of watched them get crazier over a decade and a half. And I think it really started in 2009, when Obama got elected and those people went crazy.
Yeah. I love the specific people you talked to. Rhonda Saris came as a 75th birthday present to herself. It's nice to be in a red state, she said, wearing an I Heart the Electoral College sunglasses and clutching a Trump teddy bear. It's nice to know when I'm back in Colorado with my kitty that I'm not alone. Oh, dear. She was thrilled to hear that DeSantis was speaking. She would vote for him, though not if he ran against, quote, our real president, which would be Trump, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Well, what is it like talking to also Debbie Epling? Oh, please and thank you, a county GOP chair from South Carolina, decked out in Trump earrings. I didn't know those were available. In red, white, and blue dress. When you talk to them in person, what is it? Is there anything behind the eyes? What is it? Like it's a cult, right? I mean, they're just whatever Trump says, right?
It's interesting because, I've found this to be true of these conferences for as long as I've been going to them, but the people who go to these things usually are just so nice. Mm-hmm. It's the weirdest thing because the people they're supporting, sometimes say the most horrible things. And right. But you meet these little old ladies at these conferences and they're nice and they talk to me about their cats and their, why they're there. And I try to be respectful of the fact that they have different opinions and just try to understand what they're saying. And, and there's a real mixed crowd. So it kind of depends on the conference, but at CPAC generally, at least the older people tend to be kind of, devoted to Trump for sure. But yet not quite so gone that they won't talk to the, fake news.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Steph, obviously a lot of talk yesterday, a lot of dangerous rhetoric. It sounded very much like pre-January 6th, trying to rile up his troops against the, equating Democrats with the FBI and they're persecuting me. And, but what did somebody say, Jody? How many people were there outside Mar-a-Lago? Dozens of the, how many? 5 million that voted for him? 5 million
votes, yeah.
I mean, what is your take on, because clearly he's going to try to rile them up. And he has already said that. If anybody comes for me, people won't stand for it, blah, blah, blah. What is your sense from knowing them and talking to them?
Well, it's funny because they're a real mixed bag. They're the people who are just sort of your general Trump supporters who come out and wave the flags. But there's also very violent subculture associated with this whole movement. And those people are, taking to the interwebs, and there's a lot of violent rhetoric going on right now among those people, and it's kind of scary. Actually, it is very much like the run up to January 6th, and they are
or take it back further to Waco and Tim McVeigh, and this kind of anti-government, anti-FBI rhetoric, right? I mean that's the subculture of January 6th. They're saying, oh, the FBI was behind January 6th, right?
Right, and the Proud Boys, and there are a lot of these militia groups that are still kicking around, even though they're the prosecutions I think have taken a dent in some of them, but they're still there, and there's still very much an online, and you don't see it like on Twitter or in Facebook because they've all been deplatformed, but like on Gab or Parler or Telegram chats, these guys are really talking about, bringing the guns to do whatever they need to do to defend Trump. And it's scary. These are not just like, the GOP party chair lady from South Carolina. These are big guys who've been marching around with long guns in public for the last 4 or 5 years, and they really are hoping someday to be able to do something with them.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. Well, the part that spoke to me, as I speak to you from my basement in my little progressive show, barely hanging on by a thread, while Alex Jones is making $800,000 a day, but I'm not bitter. Let me get to that. Let me get to that part. You talked to, Netroots guy who said progressives tend to not fund infrastructure. No kidding. You said if I could tell liberal college students, they paid for it, right? And he said on the left, we always get accused of getting funded by George Soros. I would kill to be funded by George Soros. As we've told this story many times, I asked George Soros for money directly on this show, and he said no. So I said, listen, I've been accused so many times of being funded by you. But that is really one of the differences, right? Is that as people pointed out, we're not a cult. You said there's no way to recreate the conservative convention circuit without a more muscular progressive media to support it. But you said even if the media environment were completely different, liberals still might not flock to a CPAC counterpart. The Democratic Party is a coalition of 57 different single-issue voters. It's so much easier for the Republican Party to stay on message because they're so monolithic. On the left, it's like herding cats. That was a really interesting theme in what you were talking about, and one that, but what is your, I don't know, what's the word, like remedy for that going into the midterms? Because that's what I was saying. Like we don't make that kind of money because our listeners are smart. Alex Jones, they will buy whatever lies he's selling, whatever BS supplements that don't work he sells. They'll buy anything. I mean, isn't that just the main thing that's so disturbing is how easily duped these people on the right are?
There's a long history of grift combined with the Republican conservative movement. Yes. I mean, it's there on the left too. It's just not I don't think it's as strong, and it's not as tied to politics as much. But it's an issue. I think when you're talking about the infrastructure, I think it's an interesting question because as the Netroots guy said, they're very earnest. They don't try to put on a show. They're not really there for entertainment. They're trying to train people to do, voter outreach. And they do that at CPAC too, but it's just not the same. I mean, going to CPAC is like going to a rock concert. It's like they have all this, and it's even actually Turning Points USA. Those things really are even more so like that. They've got all the fireworks, the pyrotechnics, and the jumbotrons, and it's just like this huge spectacle.
Can I make a self-interested case in point, Chris Lavoie? Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour has sold out theaters all over the country and is currently selling out theaters. And we don't even use dry ice or fog machines, Jody.
No,
or lasers.
No.
But it is entertaining. You're right. Like I think that's the other thing is you've got to be entertaining, whatever side of the aisle you're on. But you made a good point. You said, or I guess you were quoting one of these guys in here about we don't have Joe Biden's face on our shirts. We don't have tattoos of Obama on our arms, the hats, the putting S on your cars. Have you ever seen Build Back Better on a T-shirt? So that's the other thing. We're not in a cult. More of us voted. Obviously, 7 million more of us voted for Joe Biden. But it's just that's the difference, right? It's not a cult. The election's over. We don't go around with Biden's name on our hat, right?
Well, it's funny. Ron Filipowski, I think that was his quote. He's a trial lawyer in Florida, and he used to be a Republican, and now he's, been horrified by what happened to his party. And he told me that it's been interesting for him to watch because all the merch stuff, like getting out with your flag or going to the boat parade and wearing all the, the red, white, and blue stuff and the MAGA hats and whatnot. He said that the people use that in the MAGA world as like reinforcing their belief that the election was stolen. Because they're like, look at us, we're all out here in our gear, and where are the Democrats with their Biden shirts? Like the lack of T-shirts among Democrats is apparently one of their main arguments sometimes about why they know the election was stolen.
Wow. See, but this is why I am the Stephanie that needs to stay in my basement, and you are the Stephanie that can do this because I went just to North Carolina to visit my mom, and I saw a guy with all that Trump stuff and whatever, and I was this close, Stephanie, to going, that's going to be a good collector item when he was the first president to go to prison.
You
but I
said
didn't.
that? Oh.
No, I was going
wanted
to, but
to,
he would have shot me, so I did not, but
Yeah.
I would have. But Stephanie has more
God.
self-restraint, which is why she can go out in public.
Right.
Okay. Although you did just react to a tweet on John tweeted, it's not just marriage equality and contraception rights. After Roe, conservatives are renewing their interest in a long simmering issue, repealing no-fault divorce laws. And you just said, oh, for the love of God. Which is an underused phrase, I think. I mean, it is astounding when you wake up in 2022 to the things that we're talking about, right? To no contraceptives. You're like, what? Wait a minute. How did we get here? Right?
I often wonder that, yes, actually, too. I mean, like the fact that like half the country doesn't even get married. Why do we even care about no fault divorce? But I know why it's a way of like forcing women to stay married, just like we're going to force them to have babies. And it sounds like, but just like of all the things that are going wrong with the world, I was like, this is what they're going to, is the next hill they're going to die on is the no fault divorce.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. For the love of God. Steph, keep on doing the fantastic piece in Mother Jones. We linked to it. Thanks so much for taking time. And I hope your finger heals up real nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Steph. See you soon.